RFK Jr. just announced that the new CDC is recommending that thimerosal be removed from all United States vaccines immediately. Well, this must be a great boon to the overall public health. But unfortunately, it's not. I'm going to get into that later in this video. Thimerosal is a preservative antimicrobial that's been in our vaccines since 1930. It's a derivative of mercury and extremely safe and effective. Did you just say mercury? How in the world could that be safe? Well, you have to understand there are two different mercuries. It is methylmercury that we find in contaminated fish and in old school thermometers. But the mercury that comes from thimerosal is ethylmercury. It doesn't build up to toxic levels in the body like methylmercury does. It's excreted in the stools within 36 hours of administration. And it takes very low quantities, 0.01%, to maintain that antimicrobial activity that it has in our vaccines. Really? I'll ask. Lorenzo wants to know, how did the thimerosal get into our vaccines in the first place? We have to go all the way back to Australia, 1928, with Dr. Thompson inoculating children against diphtheria. He had a multidose vial that had 10 cc's in it. And on January 14th, 20th, 21st, and 24th, he inoculated some 27 children, all of which did perfectly well. 4 days later, he inoculated another 21 children, and unfortunately, 5 days after the inoculation, 11 of them had passed. A 12th passed the next day. They were found to have died from sepsis, a bacterial sepsis, Staphylococcus to be precise. It turns out that that rubber stopper that's at the top of a multi-dose vial, even though it was designed to tolerate multiple punctures of a sterile needle on a syringe, could allow contamination of that vial, specifically with bacteria, virus, or fungus. So it was decided that an antimicrobial should be added to all those vaccine vials. And that antimicrobial was thimerosal, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. The reason why thimerosal was removed from the vaccines in 1999 was due to a study that started in 1997. It was a theoretical concern that a child that was born premature, who's significantly underweight, and maybe has multiple medical illnesses, could theoretically develop a mercury level above the maximal allowable level. Although they never had a child have high mercury levels after all the vaccines. But through an abundance of caution, they decided to remove the thimerosal in an effort to reduce any extraneous mercury exposure that a person could have, especially a young child. And that's why in 1999 it was removed from the vaccines. Not that it caused any problems, not that it was associated with autism, or it had any lifelong consequences. It was removed in an effort to reduce the overall exposure to mercury that a child might have. So who's really going to benefit from this? Well, the only people that are going to really benefit are the anti-vaxxers because they're misinformed. We have this woman right here
saying that he is approving the removal of thimerosal, which is mercury, removing that out of all vaccines. So let me get this straight and clear for the general public who is not furious right now about this. I think people might be missing the point that this whole time, 20 plus years, more than that, all this time, the CDC, Big Pharma, and the media that was promoted and funded by Big Pharma, they knew it this whole time. Anti-vaxxers were crushed and made fun of and demonized and kicked out of offices, and all these years, all these people coming out telling their stories about their hurt children. All this time. So, Mr. Kennedy, what are you going to do about the people in the CDC and Big Pharma and doctors and everybody who knew this whole time? What are you going to do to them?
Here she is, full of fury and anger for no reason at all. She wants the CDC, the FDA, the Department of Health, physicians, the vaccine manufacturers to all be held accountable, because the way RFK released it, it leads to suspicion, as if, look at this, this was hidden all these years and now thanks to me it's gone, which is not true, but that's what they think. And that's the only people who are going to benefit from this. It's not going to be for health reasons, it's going to be to fan the flames. I hope you learned something more with this as to why thimerosal has been removed from the vaccines. What might happen is, if the clinic you go to was using multi-dose vials and now they have to use single dose, the price might go up a little bit, because multi-dose vials tend to be a little less expensive than individual pre-filled single-use syringes. I do hope you liked this. If you do like my content, click subscribe, hit the bell for future videos, and I'll see you at the next video.